Wait.
Good evening. I call to order the 1594th meeting of the General Student Senate and the 21st meeting of the 46th session. Notice that this meeting is being broadcast via Zoom and the recording will be publicly available on YouTube. I'll now read the land acknowledgements. The University of Maine recognizes that it is located on Marsh Island in the homeland of the Penobscot Nation, where issues of water and territorial rights and encroachment upon sacred sites are ongoing. Penobscot homeland is connected to the other Wampanoag tribal nations, the Passamaquoddy, Maliseet, Micmac, through kinship alliance. The university also recognizes that the Penobscot Nation and the other Wampanoag tribal nations are distinct, sovereign, legal, and political entities with their own powers of self-governance and self-determination. Will the clerk please call the roll? Keegan Tripp.
Here.
Cynthia Schaumburg. Here. Joshua.
Here.
Dylan Leland.
Here.
Jordan Thompson.
Here.
Nate Day. Excused. Jason Leclerc.
Here.
Louis Stanford is here. Olivia Britton. Here. Israel Erica.
Here.
Kyle Richards. Ray Vanderwood. Ezekiel Delore.
Here.
Ryan St. John.
Here.
Dennis Stewart. Joseph W.
Here.
Riley St. Pierre.
Here.
Oscar Callan.
Here.
Briar Chapin.
Here.
Kai Whitehead.
Here.
Lena Dana. Here. Sky Bentley. Here. Isabella Labrador. Here. Carol March. Excused. I want soda. People Warren. Christian Warren. Excused.
Here.
Zachary Zawal.
Here.
Ethan Friday.
Here.
Caesar Sparks. Alan Ballett.
Here.
Taylor Stanford. Excused. Haley Inman. Excused. Marissa Phillips. Jonathan Harper. Excused. Lauren DePost. Excused. Nancy Perkins. Here. Here. Is it better? Yeah, thank you. It's Alex Emery.
Here.
Jackson Gamble.
Here.
Sharif Abed. Excuse. Lori Sadowko. I'm now looking for approval of the 10:07/2025 minutes in this agenda. Senator Demar. Hearing a second, if it's the pleasure of the Senate, that is adopted. I do not have a Robert's Rules tip of the week, and now moving into general good and welfare, where any non-member may address the GSS for no more than 5 minutes. Do you have any speakers? Seeing none, and nothing under new senators, officers, appointments, and resignations, we'll be moving on to club maintenance for preliminary applications, the pre-physician assistant club. If you could stand up and come to the podium. Are we just talking about it, or is there going to be questions for right now? Yes, you'll share with us a little bit about your club and there'll be questions at the end.
Okay. So hi everyone, my name is Leah, this is Sydney. We're both senior microbiology students, hoping to go into the pre-PA path. So our mission for this club would be to support, empower students that want to be PAs by offering guidance, resources, and a strong sense of community. So we would offer workshops and personal statements, interviews, and direct planning. We would offer networking opportunities for PAs, PA students, and healthcare professionals. We volunteer and do shadowing connections to help students with their PA club resume. And most importantly, we would have a supportive peer community for PA club students.
The goal is to educate pre-PA students on the application process and provide those opportunities for their application for PA school. Currently, there's not a lot of that available to just PA students. So it would be helpful within the application process.
And although there is a UMaine Health Professions Club already, we're both a part of it, and they are very medical and dental focused, and they just don't post enough resources for the pre-PA students, and we hope we can fill that gap with this club.
Thank you. Are there any questions for our speakers? Seeing none, what is the committee's recommendation?
Here's a pass.
Senator DeLorme.
I move to accept the committee's recommendations.
Second.
Hearing a second, we'll now enter discussion.
I did have a quick question for our speakers. Does your club plan to request funding in the future from us?
Could you re-say that? I'm sorry.
Do you plan to request funding from us in the future?
Although while we can operate without funding, is something that we would appreciate. It would benefit our members in the sense that, say, we have guest speakers, we could use the funds to provide food and other extra stuff for the meeting as incentive. And then we would also use it for transportation, such as if we set up group volunteering hours at the hospital, not everyone could have access. So it'd be nice to have the opportunity for that.
Senator DeLorme.
This is another question for you, for you guys. Do you have any plans for creating fundraising events? Not number one to raise funds, but also to get out the word about your club and spread the word.
So we absolutely do have plans. We definitely want to do bottle drives. And then Leah here is the president for philanthropy for her sorority. So she already has a lot of experience in fundraising and has raised over $1,000 for High Five for sorority. So we definitely would look into fundraising and have a good sense on how to do it.
Are there any more points for discussion? Seeing none, debate. Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passed. I now like to invite up College Democrats for a name change.
Hi, I'm Hayden, former senator, current reporter for UMSG from the Maine campus, but I'm here in my capacity tonight as the vice president of the University of Maine College Democrats. Is it okay if I just read the letter I wrote to DPS Thompson? So the University of Maine College Democrats is submitting this request as we feel our association with the Democratic Party, which is broadly unpopular with younger people, has hampered our ability to attract new students and organize efficiently with similar-minded organizations in the Bangor and Orono area. In addition, students within the club have expressed long-standing dissatisfaction with the policies, tactics, and candidates supported by the state and federal arms of the Democratic Party. We feel that by adopting progressive as a label, we are able to more closely align our mission to the ideological standings of our members. Finally, the club has not received any financial support from the state party to an extent that would obligate our organization to maintain its nominal association. And I realize that by omitting the first paragraph, I neglected to actually say what the name of the organization will be now. It's going to be University of Maine Progressives instead of the University of Maine College Democrats. We intend for our split to be amicable and to continue supporting other college Democrats chapters across the state if they require our assistance. But I have already spoken with Charlie Dingman, the chair of the Maine Democratic Party, about this development. And yeah.
Do you have any questions for our speaker?
Have you heard if you'll lose or gain any vendors or any members of your club with this name changing?
Certainly won't lose any. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time now. I can't say anybody there really is like, oh, I'm a Democrat, they're all pretty dissatisfied with, I mean, I don't need to get into that, but yeah, we won't lose any members. Hopefully we'll gain some.
With the chair.
And just kind of as a thought that's on my mind, what happens if another group wants to come back and become the College Democrats?
Well, I mean, this is a name change, so I guess I think the ball would kind of be in your court. I mean, if somebody wants to really be the College Democrats, I don't think we would stand in the way of that. By all means, take that label, it's not what we want. But yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah.
President Trick.
Because I guess just from what I understand and from the original approval of the organization, it was to be the Democratic kind of college body. So I guess like, is that also something that you're essentially foregoing with this?
Sorry, I have hair in my mouth. I mean, we are, because, we live in a two-party system, we are still mostly supporting Democratic candidates like Fred Jackson and Grant Plattner and those sorts. Mike Tippin, our state senator, we're, doing canvassing for democratically aligned initiatives. Functionally, our day-to-day operations aren't really gonna change. And like I said, we're still gonna keep supporting Democratic candidates because that's a system that we live in. And like I said, I've also spoken with Charlie Dingman, the chair of the Maine party, about this. I wouldn't say he was all for it, but he was just like, yeah, do what you need to, so. And yeah, look, if somebody really wants to be the College Democrats, next year or whatever, I don't see why we'd stop them. But, there isn't really an appetite that I've seen for that to happen, which is precisely why we're changing.
Great, thank you.
Are there any more questions for our speaker?
Do you see your group collaborating with a push for a more progressive campus? I don't think the record.
SDS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're both in the UMaine Progressive Coalition with Triota and the University of Maine People's Alliance and plenty of other organizations. So and we do have different goals. I would say SDS is a lot more about the agitation, the protesting, that sort of thing, whereas UMaine Progressive / College Dems is more about canvassing and supporting candidates for office and fundraising for them. So yeah, I mean, we're totally open to collaboration with any of those groups if needed.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? Seeing none, what is the committee's recommendation?
Did not go to SOC.
It's just on the floor.
Okay. Discussion. Seeing none, any debate? President Trick.
I think that just for kind of our sake to kind of go over our the things that we would be concerned about. Questions I answered kind of alleviated any concerns I had about this. I think it makes absolutely the most sense to allow them to call themselves as whatever they would like. I think that's across the board. And to kind of the representatives, maybe to their point, I don't think that this will cause a issue of duplicating any other organization on campus. They are certainly individual.
Any more points for debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passes. Seeing nothing under complications, I'd like to invite up our first guest speaker. He's our Board of Trustees representative.
He's the student trustee.
I am the student trustee, yes, the undergrad student trustee. Hi guys, my name is Will Kemmler. I am a third-year student up in Machias studying marine bio and integrative biology. And I am very excited to be here talking with you guys today. It's the most excited I've been about a meeting as a trustee in probably forever. I am the undergrad student representative on the board, which means that I am a full voting member and I represent the voices of all of the undergrads, not just here in Machias or here in Orono and up at Machias, but all across the system. It's been a lot of hard work going to get this position into reality. We had a law student a few years ago, and now we have both a grad rep and an undergrad rep on the board. So we now have 2 voting members, which is significant because at our last meeting, we were actually able to motion and second an executive session. So we're really able to further the voice of the students, which is extremely important, especially now. I've been doing a lot of work on the boards, primarily figuring out how the current administration and their budget is going to affect all students. It's been an ongoing issue, and we're gonna keep on seeing it. But that's been what most of my focus has been on up to this point. And yeah, I think that I'm super happy that I finally get to introduce myself to you guys. It's been a long time coming. I wanted to make sure that I was settled and comfortable in my role so I could properly represent you guys when the need arises. And if you guys have any questions for me directly, or you ever want to speak to me or schedule a meeting with me, I'm always available to do so. And you can reach out to either Keegan or your wonderful VP, and they will be happy to schedule a meeting with me.
Great. Are there any questions for the speaker, President Tripp?
What would you say was your biggest kind of misunderstanding of the board going in, and that you would articulate to students?
I think that I at least made an assumption that the board was a little bit more, not necessarily recent, but a little more connected to what actually goes on our campuses. And even just from, I don't know how much of public session you guys see, but that's not really the case. And so it is very, very, very important that student voices are heard, because that is a noticeable weakness on the board. And I did not realize when I was first coming on that that was the case.
Your position is gonna be up for hiring for next fall. What would you say to any students here who might be interested in applying to be a student trustee?
I would say that it's a lot of hard work, but it's extremely worthwhile. It can be frustrating at times being a student in a room of bigwigs, but it is a very, very, very good experience to learn and grow. I have not had a meeting where my ideas haven't been challenged a single time, and that's a really good thing, because I am not a political science major myself. I know very little about the way that policy and other things are actually constructed. But my input as a student is still extremely valuable and extremely necessary. So even if you don't have a background or even ambition into like policy creation or politics as a whole, it's still something that you can do and succeed in, and it's your voice is still very important. So I would say go for it if you're interested. Like I said, you can always come find me if you are interested and you want to know like more about what goes into it. But it's a great experience, and it's a great opportunity to really learn how governance is carried out in all public institutions.
We're also hearing from Representative Britton about what actions actually take place at the board meetings. But I want to know, what is your satisfaction with how we move towards more student facing?
Yeah, I think that there's definitely more work to be done, with more student facing, actions, and I'd love to go into it further, but being on the board and as this meeting is being zoomed and recorded for YouTube, I can't. Yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done, especially right now, the way that everything is politically. We're really kind of at a point where, on a board level at least, a lot of our focus is on growth and improving for the future, and not as focused on what we can do to support our current students. So I think that's probably a really good place to start, but yeah,
Thank you.
Are there any more questions for our speaker?
Thank you for sharing that, Will. Do you plan on staying, the rest of this Senate meeting here tonight, or are you leaving?
Oh yeah, I plan on staying here just to see how you guys operate, get to know you all a little bit. Now, I can't say as individuals because it is still a student senate meeting. But to get to know like how your student senate functions, how it operates, the kind of things that you guys deal with, and just overall make sure that you guys know that I am aware and I am interested in what goes on this campus, and how your ideals as students kind of shift on various topics. And that like I'm gonna be available for you guys.
So,
Great. Is there any more questions? Alright, President Tripp?
I just want to say thank you for coming. I know you came all the way from Machias just to come and speak to us today, and we really appreciate it. For those of you who don't really understand maybe the gravity of the situation right now, this is the first time after very long years of hard work of student government, I think it's president and past, to get a student trustee on the board, especially an undergraduate one. And this is the first time the undergraduate trustee is addressing the general student senate. So it's kind of a big deal. Again, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate all the work that you do on behalf of not just our student body, but all student bodies across the system. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Now I'd like to invite up for our next guest speaker, Taylor Reynolds for Black Bear Mutual Aid. So we did have a presentation, if it's possible to call up, we can add to this. Yeah, thank you very much. So we'll just start with an introduction. So as was said, I'm Taylor Reynolds. I did my undergraduate here in business management and marketing. I'm a current graduate student in the MBA program. My friend Tamara Benson is who founded Black Bear Mutual Aid Fund, and it's really been an initiative that I've had the opportunity to be a part of for all of its time as a nonprofit. And I'll let my fellow folks introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Lang. I am a research associate at the Margaret Chase Smith Policy Center, representing the staff portion of BBMAP. I've been involved in the organization for about 6-7 months, and I serve as a core organizer.
Hi, my name is Catherine. I am the undergrad portion of our presentation today, and I've been part of BBMAP since it was Tamara founded it back when I was a freshman. And I've had the opportunity to kind of be a part of it as it's grown for years.
Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity to speak with you here tonight. How does one advance the slide? Do I just request?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much. So I hand off to you to take this off.
All right, so just to kind of be the professory voice here to talk about what mutual aid is, the way I like to think about it is proactive reciprocity. It is a way that communities and individuals in communities can act on behalf of everybody else for mutual enrichment. A couple of examples that we have and that you can see in our community are the little free libraries, the community fridge operated by Sodexo here in the Union, ride sharing, community meals, personal care item drives, and also direct financial support. So the goal of mutual aid is ultimately to strengthen one's community and strengthen the bonds between individuals within the community. Take the next slide.
Yeah, so our official mission is to alleviate economic hardships for UMaine students, faculty, and staff, and to build a culture of community care. So we are a 501c3 nonprofit, but we are not affiliated with the University of Maine. We're a separate organization, but we exist for the University of Maine and its broader communities to build a culture of community care and provide direct financial support as much as possible.
I need to go to the next slide. And so a little bit of what we do. So pretty much what we do is kind of housed in these 3 areas. So community building, so there's a lot of different volunteering efforts, really service-oriented stuff. This is of course connected to the University of Maine community. So we have lots of partnerships with UMaine clubs and organizations, as well as departments here in student life, as well as outside of the University of Maine community. So we partner with like the Orno Food Cupboard. We've also done stuff, and we monthly do a cook and clean with the Bangor area homeless shelter. So just getting our folks and community kind of out there as well. And then community events have also included dinner and dialogue at the Wilson Center. Upcoming, we have an open mic night on November 3rd, which we'll have some flyers for. And then we have a potluck coming up on the 9th as well.
And then our mutual aid fund. So this is really part of our name. It is one of the core ways that we enact mutual aid. So we have a mutual aid fund where folks can request funding through. This is the primary goal of all of our fundraising efforts, is every fund, every dollar that is raised within the UMaine community is put into our mutual aid fund, and then that is redistributed back out to students, faculty, and staff. So far, we're happy to express that we have raised and redistributed over $20,000 back into the UMaine community, which in total is over 65 funding requests. And then essential resource support. So we recognize that while financial redistribution is the easiest way to get people what they need and for them to have autonomy about what they need, we also do essential resource support, whether that's personal care drives or household item drives, as well as just sharing food and space, providing food for folks and a place of comfort to be, as well as knowledge and skill sharing. So kind of closing the gap on all areas that folks may be in need. And then if we advance to the next slide. This kind of is just a way for you to know different ways to get involved. So I think one of our primary objectives of tonight is not only awareness for all of you as involved people in the University of Maine community and to refer us to, but also if there are opportunities for partnership with any of the organizations that you're connected to or with the Senate, of course, we would love to explore those opportunities. And then just directing you on how to contact us, or if you know someone in need who you'd like to refer to us, there's our email and our website right there, as well as a couple QR codes. So we recently finished our annual report. I think recently, time is crazy. It was over the summer. But you can go right onto our website and there's a red banner at the top that says check out our annual report. Over 40 hours went into creating that annual report. So it's lots of good data on how we make the impact that we do. And then of course, subscribing to our newsletter and following us on Instagram is a great way for you all to be involved in the different things that we are doing and to kind of help spread the word in the community. So that is our spiel, and we'd love to answer questions.
So do we have any questions for our speakers?
How do you receive your funding again?
Yeah, can you repeat it again? I think you asked how do we receive
Or how
funds?
do you like accumulate funds that you're then able to redistribute?
Yeah, so we have a number of current funding campaigns that we pretty much put out. We always, whenever we do sibling events, we have the kind of, grassroots fundraising, just drop in $1 or two. We have Venmo, a lot of our funds are collected over a month, called Give Letter, which you can see right on our website. So we try to funnel everything through that platform, and then we'll accept, cash and check donations as well. Thanks for the question.
We also,
Yes,
we also have fundraising events that we do in partnership with other community organizations. We were recently the recipients of half of the funds from Orono Festival Days. And we are working with several organizations to organize event fundraising nights for cornhole tournaments. We made some cornhole boards as one of our team building activities. So that's another major vector for fundraising.
Just a quick follow-up. Do you feel that the amount of funding that you're able to kind of bring into your organization is increasing, decreasing, or kind of staying the same?
that's a great question. I will take that, but please jump in. I think with any new organization, we were founded in 2023, right? So we had a lot of activity and interest and early kind of donations that sustained us for a little bit of time. One thing about the structure and the nature of this organization is we don't have to keep any of the funds. We want to get rid of them as soon as possible because we recognize people are in need. So we also have kind of peaks in fundraising after we've actually closed a funding cycle, because people are eager to kind of get that fund back up so we can redistribute again. Our capacity as an organization also has a lot to do with how much we can raise, right? Like any organization. So our membership in terms of who stands up in front of you here today as organizers has shifted, which also has benefited to others that have flows with that. Thanks for the question. President Chair.
Are there any ways we do a lot of we have a social media presence and we have newsletters and stuff. Are there any other ways other than advertising you think that we can assist off the top of your mind? Maybe there aren't right now, but that's my question.
I mean, any sort of event that partnership, we love to partner with other organizations as a way to stay involved with students on campus and to get our name out there and get more members, start getting the word out for possibly donations, but any sort of event, we love to do those kind of partnerships.
Yeah, we recently had a conversation with the folks at the pub over in Wells. And they're very open to hosting some sort of, or allowing us to host some sort of fundraising drive. So if that is of interest to this body in both advertising capacity or partnership capacity, we'd love to hear proposals.
Yeah, and if you know of any funding streams that we're not taking advantage of, we would love that. We apply for grants very often, and we've been, I think, pretty successful, in that, but we're always looking for other things. If anything kind of comes across your desk or your screen, let us know, and I'm eager to apply. Okay, are there any more questions?
If not, I'll take that.
President Trick.
Okay, well, thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate it. Something I want to highlight to the Senate is how new these resources are. Gosh, it was 4 years ago, actually, funnily enough, the meeting that took place talking about organizing for the student trustee happened the hour after the core organizers in the beginning. So I would actually sit in at the beginning. So you guys have come so far from that. So that's awesome. I encourage you all to, at least as student leaders, stay in tune with what they're doing. And that goes for also I know that Kate Flynn and the community fridge is so new. So I mean, these are examples of student leaders on campus making a difference on campus outside of those kind of traditional avenues like us. So thank you so much for coming, and also thank you for the work that you're doing.
I'd now like to invite up Derek Mella.
Hello, everyone. My name is Derek Mel. I'm here tonight with Kaya and Charlotte. And I'm from the graduate student government. I'm the graduate student government liaison officer. I know that the graduate student government and the undergraduate student government are really looking forward to working together a lot. I am the liaison as well to the Graduate Workers Union, which I'm a member of. And it's going to be in that capacity here that I'm speaking with Kaya and with Charlotte. And then also those are my daughters, Juniper and Brittany. So to talk about, I'm gonna just begin by talking about my own experience with the Graduate Workers Union. By kind of even focusing on what my experience with the school and being a graduate student and a graduate worker is. So I was accepted as a history PhD student in January of 2023. So I have that graduate student element to me being at the school. I'm here, I'm doing my research, I'm gonna ultimately do my dissertation, and that's my path academically. In terms of a worker, in terms of me being a graduate worker, when I was accepted, I was given the opportunity to take a TA shift to be a teaching assistant, and thus I became a graduate worker. And during my orientation over the summer of 2023, there was an organizing push at that time to even get a graduate workers union together. So it was at that point when I was doing my graduate teaching assistant orientation in the summer of 2023 that I signed my union card and officially became a member of the union. And also that was, my introduction to Maine and to being a graduate student up here. I'm originally from southeastern Massachusetts. If it wasn't for the graduate worker position that I was offered, I would not be able to come here. I would not be doing my studies here. I would not be working here. I really want to kind of make it the point communicated well as much as I can that, first and foremost, I am here as, well, a parent, but, I'm a student. I came here to do my studies. I came here to get my PhD. I also, that said, came here to be a teaching assistant, to be a graduate worker. And graduate workers, we are teaching assistants, we are research assistants. And what other capacities are those the main two?
Graduate assistants,
Graduate assistants.
graders, and doing other kinds of administrative work or other things on behalf of professors or faculty members usually.
Fully teaching a class.
Yeah, sometimes TAs are assigned as the core instructor for a class, and so they end up with no additional pay to perhaps their minimum stipend of $17,000 or $20,000, instructing an entire course, being responsible for a whole class of undergraduates with no actual entitlement to typical workplace protections, which would be included in a union contract such as the one that the professors and other faculty members have on campus.
And that's kind of, when I arrived, that was really like something I was excited about, was to be a part of the campus culture, to teach, to be able to. I'm teaching a course right now, and I love teaching. It's really a big part of what I am passionate about. And we serve the state of Maine. I mean, we come in here as students, but we really are ingrained in the campus community. We want to be educated, we want to educate others. For me personally, I take a great deal of pride in being at the flagship institution of the state of Maine. I think it's really cool. For me, I hope and I think and assume that a lot of you feel the same way, that, here we are, we're at the University of Maine, we're gonna do our studies, we're really gonna nail it, we're gonna get a degree, and we're gonna go off to the next phase of our life, whatever that might be. And for me, that graduate worker status, that course that I'm teaching, that income is what is sustaining me right now. And if you've seen or heard the rallies, you probably understand that there's some dissension right now. There's some feelings of being upset. So we're grad workers, we're here, we're excited, but we're also going through this contract push right now that has been causing a lot of stress and struggle. For me, I'm just gonna say a few words of my experiences as a parent. With that, the Graduate Workers Union, as we're going for this first contract, we're looking at things like financials, but we're also looking at a lot of other elements too, like international worker rights. And for me, it's childcare, and it is a big part of that. So one thing that the union has been pushing for is childcare, funds for childcare, and that has been denied. They are refusing to give us any funds for childcare. I'm paying for childcare out of pocket, and not getting any reimbursement from that. That's one thing that we're pushing for. And it even is simple things like changing tables. One of the things that our bargaining team proposed was that we asked, could we have changing tables in the buildings where the grad workers work? And they said no. So we're really trying to push for this contract that is gonna help us, help the school, help all of you. And we're really running into a lot of, stone walls with that process. It occurred to me the other day that when I enrolled here and did my orientation here, and signed my union card in the summer of 2023, Juniper here was exiting preschool. And now she's in second grade, and we still don't have a contract. So we want what's best for the school, for Maine, for ourselves, and we're really running into a lot of obstacles in this contract push, which has been now for over 700 days. And now I'll kind of let you two.
Yeah, so one of the main reasons that I wanted to come here to talk to them, I guess before I fully start speaking, I do have some materials that show kind of the most recent proposals from our union and from the union system, as well as the increases of different job classifications across campus. So you'll see the grad workers listed along with the faculty's union, the clerical staff union, as well as some of the more administrative positions under the chancellor's cabinet and president's, or the chancellor's office and the president's cabinet. But yeah, so you guys can take a look at those. I attended the University of Maine as an undergraduate, and I wanted to kind of speak about how a union contract for us would not only greatly benefit all of the graduate workers who are currently employed here, but would also benefit the undergraduates greatly. So I remember when I first attended a grad workers rally, it was actually in my undergraduate year, I think in my sophomore or junior year. And I remember being really excited because I was enrolled in a 4+ program, which ended up transforming into a 3+ program. And I knew that I would be completing a graduate program at UMaine and would likely have an assistantship during that time. So I was very excited that there were people working hard to like focus on improvements to the job and the workplace conditions, the minimum stipend, which I make of $17,000. I was really excited that maybe that would be higher by the time I got there. But now, after completing my first graduate program, a master's in math at UMaine, I spent the whole year making the minimum $17,000. And here we are next year still making the exact same thing. I know for me, this has been difficult. I've had to work a second job. I'm looking at one of my past students right now. Yeah, okay. And it was really difficult to focus on my TAing and focus on teaching my students calculus 2 when I also had to schedule in 10 hours a week to work a second job just to pay rent. I would be leaving the math lab, wanting to answer one more question and just not being able to because I had another meeting to go to. And so I think as undergraduates, you guys are all here, you guys are already on a mission that is difficult to get this first degree. And you deserve all the support you can have from both graduate workers, such as your teaching assistants, and also your professors. And getting us this contract would really make a big difference in the amount of people who had to work second jobs and the care and attention they could put into the work that they're doing. So right now, I'm in a master's of teaching program. My focus is on teaching. That's what I want to do in the future is like be a math teacher to high school students. And so it's really important to me to be able to focus on my TAing and actually learn like, how do you be a good teacher? What steps should I take? What does this student need? What does that student need? And when I have to work 10 hours a week at another job, there's just not the time to put that care into it. And it's something I wanted to do so that I can like give the best experience to all of my students and to all the undergraduates that I encounter while I'm nursing here. So currently, another sort of form that I'll let Charlotte hand out. We've been asking the UMaine administration to, listen to some of our concerns specifically about like the minimum stipend for a long time now, and they have been very unreceptive to a lot of what we've been saying and sort of making changes that would actually make a difference to the way people are living their lives day to day. So our most recent sort of push to get the UMaine system to hear from us and let them know that we are concerned and we continue to be concerned for every day that we don't have a contract is this email campaign to the Board of Trustees. So the Board of Trustees, we just heard from a representative. I'm sure most of you guys know that they are the ones overseeing the school's budget and approving that every year. So this is just putting some more pressure on decision makers to say like, we're concerned about this, undergraduates are concerned about this. So if you scan that QR code, it'll take you to like an automated email, but it's fully customizable. So you can say like, hey, it's important to me that grad workers get a contract that is fair soon because of X, Y, and Z reasons, because I want to be able to get the full amount of support that I deserve in my courses, which I think you guys definitely do deserve and what I want you all to have. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I'm hoping eventually to pursue a PhD in education, and I would very much like to do it here, but as long as all the peer institution stipends are higher, it's really like, I want to teach for a couple years, come back and do a PhD, and I cannot be in my late 20s making $20,000 a year. Like, it's not sustainable. I want to be a high school teacher in the future. There is no catch up for me to play. I just can't do it here if we don't get the minimum stipend raised earlier. So yeah, now I'm really done.
So I'm Charlotte and I'm here, and you probably can hear it, as an international student. And so are about 40% of all the grad students and the grad workers here, and about 20% of faculty. So we're a significant proportion of the graduate student body. And I'm sure you guys know that recently being an international person in the US is not the most secure feeling. Not only is the union working on raising our stipends and healthcare and lower parking grants and getting vision and dental, but it's also working on getting some basic international student protection. International students, by the way, are not allowed to work in this country outside of the university. Which means that the minimum stipend, if we wanted to get a second job, you are not allowed to. You will get deported, so we don't do that. And so we have actually reached a tentative agreement with the university regarding protections. Part of this includes protection against ICE on campus. It basically says that the university is not allowing ICE or any other governmental agency on campus unless there is a warrant. And that it is mandated by law. So essentially, they're not going anywhere further than the bare minimum they're required to do. We've also gained that if ICE or anyone is asking about a certain student and a certain student's address and whatever, the university will warn the student that this is currently taking place, just in case. What else is there? Yeah, no entering unsupervised in any building on campus without a faculty or Senate representative. So those are all very important protection. It also includes making sure that the Office of International Programs remains funded. You guys might not be familiar with it, but this is a very important office we have on campus to get visas, and not just student visas, but also faculty visas. This was very hard to win. They tried to circumvent and make sure that they could cut funding. And essentially getting a visa to the US is okay. And I'm saying that as coming from a country that has a good relationship with the US, which is not the case of everyone here. And you cannot do this. You cannot get a visa without the Office of International Programs. So making sure that Maine guarantees that this instance will stay in place is really important. So we've earned all of that last year through a lot of work and a lot of bargaining in closed doors and being really annoying, honestly, but for the good cause. But all of those wins are currently not enforced because all of those wins will only come into play once we sign our contracts. So currently, international workers on campus are vulnerable. Well, they're vulnerable anywhere, but they're even more vulnerable here. So yeah, we really want to push for you to please message the Board of Trustee and send them all of that because yeah, we could use a little, nudge in the back here. That's it.
Yeah, and we also wanted to just open the floor to any questions you might have about the Grad Workers Union or anything we've been up to lately, since I know we do sometimes cause a ruckus on campus that might, draw some attention and people might be carried, so.
Any questions for our speakers? Senator Sparks?
I have two questions that are very short. One, do you guys pay for tuition? Two, how many hours work do you work for them?
So most of the assistantships we get include a tuition waiver, so this covers just the cost of like graduate student tuition. It doesn't cover any of the fees or like activity fees, textbooks, online course fees, anything like that. So like this semester, my bill that came in on the 15th, so 2 weeks before my first paycheck was, well, first it was $2,000 and I was like, no, that's wrong, because they didn't put my tuition waiver on there. Then it was $700, which was still not amazing, but yeah, currently we don't pay tuition. Most of us get waivers, but we still have to pay all the pesky fees. In terms of hours worked per week, the expectation from the university is a full-time commitment. But the job is part-time, so you're expecting usually 20 working hours. So my assigned TA duties would fill 20 hours. But part of the condition of keeping your job is also making sure you're fulfilling your academic duties. So I know that when I was in the mathematics graduate program, I usually had about 30 hours of homework a week, and that's just how it was. We usually have about 10 hours of class, and I was taking 3 classes. So it amounted to like 50 hours of stuff to do to keep the job, but only like 20 hours of paid work, which is one of the reasons they like to say like, oh, 17,000 is enough because it's part-time, but it does take the full amount of your time.
And I would just add to that too, that, you know, for me, someone like me who's a parent, you know, if I'm not here on campus, I'm with my kids or they're out in the hallway while I'm nearby. So that's not an option. A lot of graduate students are in a similar situation and
It's illegal for any students. It has to be 20 hours. It cannot be more. So the university never offers more. You can get like add-on pay, but your contract will always be 20 hours because of the international law.
And just a little bit like of a side note context too, I actually live on campus. I live over at U Park. And I get the childcare through the university. So I get paid from the university and then pay the university for housing and for childcare. And roughly my pay per month is $2,000. My rent is $1,100 and childcare is $900. And I net $27 a month.
Are there any more questions for our speakers?
Compared to, I see here you have other universities in New England. How is the university Maine compared to universities outside of New England?
Worse.
Even worse?
Yeah, this is actually, the kind of the low end of the barrel because we are, it's called land trust.
Land grant.
Land grant university.
Yeah, so we have like all of the other New England land grant universities listed, so it should be like comparable institutions in the similar region and all land grant institutions. And you can see that our current minimum of $17,000 is well below what most of the other minimums are. What's highlighted in blue is the union's most recent proposal of a new $23,000 minimum. And what's in red, the 20,000 figure is what the latest University of Maine proposal was, so $23,000 as the new minimum, or 20,000 as the new minimum, so we would like to get just a little bump up higher because it would make a big difference, in a lot of people's day-to-day. How they materially live their lives, are able to buy gas every week.
And most private university at least don't have.
Also on that, do you know how the cost of living compares between Maine and Orono and the rest of these universities?
Yeah, I believe that in some areas, like I think in Connecticut, it's higher. But I think in most of the other areas, it's pretty directly comparable or perhaps a bit lower. I know that up here, the cost of living can tend to be a bit more than like in some mid-regions places where you don't have to do as much like transporting way up north. That's unfortunately the best answer I have for that right now.
In the Bangor greater area, I think it's now almost $50,000. That's the estimated cost of living around. I wouldn't include the rest, but it's pretty competitive.
Do we have any more questions for our speakers? Seeing none, I wanted to thank you guys so much for coming out today, sharing this with us. And I appreciate the work you put into the handouts you gave us today. But thank you again. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much for that.
We'll now be moving on to executive reports, starting with the president.
All right, hi guys. Just a few housekeeping things. Number one, I'm gonna start dropping my entire report into the Senate chat after I give it moving forward, because they're tending to get long, and I'm gonna start kind of hopping around if I don't feel like it's entirely pertinent to talk about it, since obviously time is something to consider in these meetings. I'm also adding a new section of my report, so there's that. I'm not gonna beat you to death, but they'll be called upcoming meetings, and then that way you guys will get to see kind of what the upcoming few weeks for me looks like. Bear with me through a pretty long report this week. We'll kind of this out and it looks like it, so. And also keep in mind that these reports are not exhaustive. I think that's something, a conversation I would like to have more so with the execs, the Senate. That these are not encompassing everything that we're doing, and this is kind of an effort for me to expand out my reports and then not give them fully, but then give them to you so that you guys have a kind of fuller picture of what it looks like day to day for me. Also first, I need 2 volunteers to help the president on homecoming this weekend. Please reach out to me about that. Old business, senior admin meeting on October 8th. I'll drop the agenda for that as well. I'm gonna start doing that moving forward, so everyone's up to date with what we're talking about. Everything's very transparent. Some highlights, we were talking about working to get the president and the chief of staff as a guest speaker, likely next semester. We restarted the conversation about continuing direct financial meetings with the campus CBO and VPFA. Since I wrote that, we actually have already started the planning of that. So those meetings will be between interim Chief Business Officer Jenny Boyden and our own VPFA Joshua Bohm. This is something that was started under the last VPFA, and it ended up being very helpful, A, to get our questions answered more directly about the university budget, but also to act as almost a mentor to our VPFA, which I find also a very kind of a big deal. We also expressed the continued need to address equity in campus facilities. If you've been here for a while, you know that trying to rent anywhere is really expensive, even though it's our campus and we are paying for a lot of these things with our tuition dollars. So we're going to continue to have a conversation, probably with VPFA Bohm and interim VP Boyden. Moving on to, I had a meeting with Faculty Senate President Clemmer. It was genuinely a lovely meeting. I'm going to attempt to meet with her more often. We talked about shared concerns across the board. It's kind of a breath of fresh air to hear someone align so closely with my experience navigating the institution. Our timelines actually line up pretty perfectly. I became VP when she was elected to her first year of her 3-year term. So we're also kind of exiting together, and it was very interesting reflection. We also went over her concerns about the syllabus bank project. More speed bumps seem to keep coming from us and new problems that they see, so we're going to continue to work with that. Moving on to my meeting with the athletic director, we discussed SAC and where it currently stands relative to athletics, the athletics administration and UMSG. I believe we have a SAC rep here with us today. Hello. So we're clearly making some progress with that. We identified 2 core issues. Number one, a lack of holistic support from athletics and student government for the organization. There is onboarding with representatives that we need to work on to make sure people know what they need to do, as well as the athletics, from what I understand, and I guess our SAC rep could probably correct me if I'm wrong, it would be better to have a tighter relationship with them as well, and I think that's something we want to work towards. But also a lack of structure on SAC's end. So we're gonna kind of look at that and see how we can kind of build a better relationship with them, whether that's more regular meetings between myself, the athletic director, the SAC president, something like that. So again, the 2-prong approach for solving that. AD Killy and I will be going to tackle the institutional side of things, so strengthening and fortifying SAC's place, not just as representing to the Senate, but also representing student athletes. We're going to try to do a push to get all sports teams represented, and that's kind of what AD Killy will be focusing on, and then Senator Stanford and I, who has been core to this, and I appreciate very much. We'll be working on the student side to get a little bit more buy-in from the missing teams and craft some improved bylaws focusing on longevity, institutional knowledge. I think it's all going to be a good thing, so I'm looking forward to that. Moving on, coffee clash with the GSG president and vice president. This was another fantastic meeting that myself and VP Shelmerdine had with the graduate student government president, vice president. We shared goals and concerns. Again, they seem very similar, which makes sense. We're working toward a campus safety survey to be pushed by both student governments. I've looped in our security representative on that, and we'll be developing that. And I think that honestly, GSG seems to want to take the lead on that. So they'll be kind of administering that, and then we will come back and look at the results together, and I'll present that to you all. We also touched base in the syllabus bank, annual call things, and our shared relationship with the administration. And I look forward to exploring this relationship further and invest more than I think that we've had in a long time. Moving on to the amnesty program. I addressed concerns regarding the current program language. Correction is a program, not a policy. I expressed that from my perspective, a series of straightforward tweets will strengthen the flaws, and students, from what I hear, will be directly involved in a potential redraft. I'm going to be following up. This was in a conversation with Dean Gifford, but I'll be following up on my meeting with Advisor Sedelko. She received my marked up version of the thing, so we'll be talking over that. I'm optimistic about how the conversation is going so far, and I appreciate Student Life hearing us out. We'll present a comprehensive list of requested changes to the Senate when appropriate, so you'll be in the loop. Reach out if you're interested in helping with that. Moving on to another new section that I'm calling exec updates. Spoke with VP Fang and FEPC Chairwoman Stankovitz a few times about prepping for advertising Senate elections. I think I again wrote this before I realized that we're already there on the ball, so they're doing clearly a great job. I've also been working with DOC Leclerc on preliminary designs for the Beat UNH shirts. We're gonna have him present a smaller pool or a larger pool of them to exec, where they're gonna move that to SEC. SEC will have the final say on those things. So if you care about t-shirts, go to SEC. Moving into new business, presidential committee appointments. I need you to bear with me on this one. So these committees advise President Monday on major issues, and I'm going to run through the appointments as they follow. Vice President Shelmerdine will continue on the Space Advisory Committee, as we have heard from her a few times, both last year and now. And I won't go into that because we know kind of what that does. VP Bowen will be sitting on the Budget Advisory Committee. This committee serves as a body that advises the university president on developing a strategic multi-year budget aligned with the university's mission and planning priorities. This is a continuing another precedent that started under VPFA Bois and my work kind of building him into the administration as well. And I'm excited that Josh will be picking up that mantle. I will be serving for the first time as a new appointment on the President Advisory Committee on Administrative Excellence. So this committee advises the president on improving operational efficiency, communication, and workplace quality. This is something I'm very excited about. I think that the institution for a long time, it's something that I've really understood, but not had a direct way to impact, and I'm really excited about that. All of this is a notable step toward the goals that the vice president and I set during our campaign and reiterated during the beginning of the year. So I think it's important that we update on that. This is a continuation of the work from myself and former Vice President Peterson's work. And all this to say, especially when we consider all the work the Senate has been doing to liaise and be in the room in many different ways, we've seen considerable progress in student government's overall commitment to ensuring that undergrads are where they need to be and are there to give meaningful input. From the Good Neighbor Committee to all the faculty Senate appointments and now these executive level appointments, these are big deals. Students are finally in the rooms that they used to not be in, and obviously I expect and also expect both, like, I want them to, but also expect them to do a great job with this. So, moving on, I met with Representative Krupinski. It was a lovely conversation about the senior class council, its plans, and aligning our joint appointment on the commencement committee. We'll be kind of meeting more frequently once that kicks up, so I look forward to that. And earlier today, I met with Trustee Kemmler, which was awesome. I got to hear about some of the stuff that he's been doing, not just as a trustee, but as a student and fellow undergraduate in the system. And again, I really appreciate you being here with us today. For upcoming meetings, I have a Faculty Senate event, Academic Affairs meeting tomorrow. I'll be visiting the Faculty Senate Academic Affairs Chair Committee with Senator Ricker to broach the syllabus bank project. Wish me luck. Senator DeLorme was there last time, so I'll let you know how that goes. Moving on to, I'll be attending a GSG meeting this Friday, also to talk about the Syllabus Bank Initiative and open myself to questions about that and UMSG. So again, some really strong movement on the Syllabus Bank project. This Friday, the GSG and UMSG execs will also be having kind of a more informal kind of community building thing at OVC on Friday. That's later the same day that I visit GSG, so I'm hoping this will be a little bit more informal and just be a lot more about getting those whose roles are similar, connected, and talking about things in a kind of more broad and general sense. So I look forward to that, and that's a precedent that was started back with former President DeLorge. And then finally, meeting with President Monday update. Originally for last Friday, it got postponed due to a time crunch on the president's side. I still have not been able to meet with her this semester, and I'm working on rescheduling that. And that is the end of my report. Thank you for bearing with me.
Great. In my attempt to not re-go over some of the things that Keegan did, I'm going to exclusively state some of the things that I've been doing, and I will also drop this in the chat later so you can see the other parts. I had a meeting with Dick Young, William Bieberstein, and Joshua Burke regarding parking solutions and how they're going to be effective with the new construction. There are parts of this meeting that I'm not at liberty to share, but I wanted you all to know that this problem is being looked at in full. And what I mean is that there are short-term and long-term solutions being looked at, but that's not my place currently to share without the approval of the university president on said programs. But I wanted you to know that this is something that everyone is looking at currently. there was an announcement put out to faculty, but not yet to students. Currently, I can say that the university's goal is to try to get back up to a net zero, which is exactly 834 parking spaces. There are 200 parking spaces that are currently being taken up by construction or have been, and the All-Phone lot is fully open, giving it back around 100 spots. The new soccer fields will be open soon, which will add 50 more parking spaces near the satellite lot. The Dunn and Corbett lots will combine into one larger lot designed for improving traffic circulation and pedestrian safety. The direction of the lots will shift 90 degrees as they are from where they are right now, so they're going to be longer rows. And this will be able to fit way more cars, and this will allow for ADA accessibility from that lot into the sports fields. The Morris Arena construction will start in phases. December 15th, phase 1 will permanently take away 30 to 40 parking spaces. And then after spring break, when phase 2 starts, all 150 parking spaces on that half the road will no longer exist, and they will never exist again. For the construction of the Morris Arena, to account for the $10 million in deferred maintenance and unfunded modernization needs, Crossland Hall will be demolished to expand Wells parking, which will make up for the difference for the lost 150 spaces. Extra rows will be added towards College Ave on top of where the hall was. And the 20 to 30 parking spaces for U Park is still underway, and they haven't solidified that just yet. Moving on, I wrote standing rules for the MCEC Student Advisory Board. Elections were held and committees are being created to start fulfilling our charge of writing a report for our dean. Senator DeLorme has done a great job organizing one of the committees for the engineering job fair. So congrats to him, which takes place tomorrow from 10 to 2 p.m. And the advisory board is well on track, and I look forward to expanding this effort. The video about the annual call is up, thanks to our DOC. And I'll be doing a day in the life of executive this week, which I'm also very excited about. And I hope you guys are excited about that because I'm having all the executives do a day in the life. So you get to see the behind the scenes of what it's like being an executive. If anyone has any ideas for videos, please reach out to me or the DOC for that. I have a meeting with Joe Farley regarding setting a line of communication between facilities management and the requesting bodies on campus. This is not just for my own interest and transparency for us, but also towards administration as a whole. Lori can attest to this, having a much more communicative relationship with facilities management ensures that we're updated on the progress requests, but also to keep FM accountable. And the rest of my report I will put in the chat. Next, Vice President of Financial Affairs.
President Tripp also mentioned most of my updates. So I'll just give my standard report. Our starting projected unallocated figure is $180,903.13. For transfers, we have a transfer of $352 from professional classes to corporate insurance for the UMSG office budget. No budget lines added. We do have an office budget for Dungeons and Dragons for $200. Then for the consent agenda items, we have voter enrollment and education committee, which is going to probably speak about it in their report. Alpha Sigma Phi is hosting in front of the tree, and they wanted $600 for the reservation of the Dunlop peso with a physical education student organization is going on a conference to Rockland, Maine, and so we gave them $999.99 for hotels as well as conference registration. Dungeons and Dragons also requested an additional funding request for $314.64 for their Halloween costume pizza party night. And then Sophomore Owls made a request for $793 for their Haunted Trails activity. And then tonight coming to Senate, we have men's ice hockey for the remainder of their tier funding in a total of $2,313.09. Report.
Vice President of Student Organizations.
Okay, so SSC had two clubs this week. The first was the pre-physician assistant club, which came in for prelim, as you saw today. And then the undergraduate women in STEM club came in for reactivation because they were in a situation very similar to the Society for Physics students, where they lapsed update forms years ago. and became derecognized without the current leadership knowing that they were never actually recognized. SSC granted them reactivation. End of report.
Vice President, Student Entertainment.
Hey everyone, SEC is tabling tomorrow from 12 to 2, so please stop by or tell all of your friends about it. We're also having some very important discussions in SEC, so please join us from Tuesdays 2 to 3. Current discussions include the spring show, ways to improve tabling, food trucks, a few details about ABPSC's hall show, such as catering. I think we figured that one out today. And then also there's going to be a couple of volunteering opportunities coming up, especially with ABPSC Hall Show and for Halloween. So if you're interested in volunteering for that, please talk to me. And then the next couple of meetings, we'll also be looking at stickers and the Beat UNH t-shirts. So if you're interested in that, please stop by. And then the Mainbound rental process should be starting up pretty soon here, which is very exciting. End of report.
Vice President, Student Leadership.
Hi, everyone. The leadership scholarship is basically finished. The senators on SLC are doing a final once over, but I'm gonna start working on advertising it next week. So please come to SLC Mondays 5 to 6. The retreat has begun being planned. It will most likely be the weekend of December 5th to December 12th. December 5th to December 7th. Tonight, you're all going to see the Senate election timeline and the changes to the guidelines we made so that the timeline can pass. FEPC Stankovich will speak more about it in her report. But all senators, regardless of whether or not your college is going to election, need to get your signatures because it is a new session. I brought packets for you all on the document table to start. And they are due November 7th. And then I'm going to be working with VP Shelmerdine on the senator posters. End of report.
Advisor to Student Government. No report. Are there any questions for speakers? Seeing none, we'll move into periodic report, starting with Faculty Senate Student Representative.
Hi, guys. I had a semi-long report. I'm gonna try to speed through it for the sake of time. I just went to the for my first Faculty Senate meeting. It's their second, I believe, of the semester. That was October 15th. The university at large is considering major changes to its health insurance provider. We're currently using United Health. They're considering swapping over to Anthem. There have been some concerns that this change is going to affect students and staff because, as we all know, the Cutler Health Center is a Northern Light entity, and Anthem and Northern Light have been having some not so nice spats recently. Currently, Northern Light will accept Anthem up through the 31st of this month. But if the university does decide to swap over to Anthem as a cost-cutting measure, this could potentially affect students' ability to actually receive Cutler healthcare through university insurance. In regards to pedestrian vehicle accidents, we talked about recent uptick, we talked about solutions, speed bumps were brought up. However, speed bumps have to be taken down during winter time, so that suggestion kind of went out the window for the short term. Other ideas brought up were lowering the speed limit from 25 all the way down to like 15, adding blinking warning signs that advise a pedestrian crossing, adding in actual crosswalk lights. The issue is that these suggestions are only formally they have not been formally suggested. They're just ideas of how to solve the problem. They have not been submitted in writing. Something just to keep an eye on, but perhaps something not yet entirely of concern, is some professors have brought up some concerns regarding the use of the Glean app, which is a recording app provided by the accessibility services. It's used to record classes. There have been some worries about potential dissemination of recordings. There are rules in place regarding punishment should that occur. And while it's not really a major dilemma right now, because it does involve accessibility services, I think it's something we should keep an eye on. The entire Senate also just had a massive amount of data just kind of dumped on them regarding the strategic re-envisioning plan of the university, which if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically just what would UMaine look like if we were designing it today? What steps can be taken to improve that university? And the data being given was just data being collected on the university and whatnot. But the issue that several of the more data inclined members of the Faculty Senate had was, what even is this data supposed to be measuring? we've collected data before asking a question in the first place. Perhaps we should take a step back. The board is also reviewing potential AI integration into the University of Maine system with Google Gemini. While I can't give more information on that just yet, because I don't actually know much about it, I will be meeting with the Vice Chancellor for Finances and AI integration of the UMaine system this Thursday. The Culture Environment Subcommittee has been looking into issues of like campus access, fiscal and academic. And I think it might be a good idea to get some student input on that. I'm going to be probably going through with connecting them to the newly recognized accessibility on campus group with their leaders, because if we could get some student involvement in campus access, I think these two groups could do a lot of very good work together. And then obviously we talked about academic affairs and the syllabus repository. But the other thing that academic affairs has been going over is the grade grievance policy, because currently grade grievance policy is essentially just student goes, I don't like my semester grade, and the professor goes, that sucks. And that policy was implemented in '76 and has not been looked at since. But the Academic Affairs Committee has been talking about perhaps implementing a non-partial review for professors' decisions. Lastly, if anybody has any questions regarding health insurance changes or AI integration, let me know. I'd love to be able to ask these questions at the next Faculty Senate meeting or during my meeting this Thursday. If any of my fellow task force members wanna say anything that they had at their committee, feel free to, but other than that, that is the end of my report.
University of Maine Board of Trustees Student Representative.
Hey, everyone. First of all, it's very exciting that Will is here. I hope everyone understands how exciting and cool that is. Secondly, the undergrad student reps met with Vice Chancellor St. John today. These things don't apply so much to our campus, but I'm gonna pass on the message that on other campuses, there's a lot of questions about aging infrastructure that isn't being addressed. Yeah, have a lot of construction going on and to big digit plan. So I guess it's cool on this campus that maybe conversations are starting to happen at least. And then secondly, I'm the only rep paid for my position. And so other reps are pursuing avenues to also be paid for their position. I think there might be, the grad student things, but anyways, there's gonna be a special board meeting, this Friday. It's a 1-hour Zoom meeting. And it's just going over the budget, basically, that, will be available to the public to watch, but not speak in. And then, yeah, that's all for me.
Current and fair election practices, Commissioner.
I have 2 resolutions coming in later tonight. And the first one is about the guidelines. It's just looking at a specific section of the guidelines. And then hopefully in like 2 weeks, I'll have the rest of my guidelines coming through for you guys. And importantly,
Does anyone have the student legal services liaison report? All right, representative to the Graduate Student Senate.
President Tripp sort of touched upon most of my points regarding Crossland Hall and the parking. So, no report.
Orono Town Council liaison.
Update on the Good Neighbor Committee. They are planning to meet in November. They have not given a date yet. They have not decided it. So I'm expecting a date by the next meeting, or there will be a date by the next meeting officially. I met Casey Turman, who is a Bangor Daily News reporter, while I was at the meeting yesterday. He expressed interest in learning more about student government, so see if there's a connection with the meeting. And Councilor Andrea Harrison gave a special thanks to Senator Cohen for your work on the marginal municipalities. That's it.
Old Town City Council liaison. Does anyone have the representative military and veteran student affairs report?
Director of Communications.
Yeah, all right, I'll keep this pretty short. If you have not yet gotten a headshot, please come see me during recess. I'm gonna try and get the rest of your headshots done. As you guys know, and as VP Sharma has been talking about, they really need to be done as soon as possible, so we can get the senator posters out. Once they're done, I will send them to you. Please upload them to Google Drive that is pinned in the Senate chat. I've been kind of mentioning that a little bit, but if you just check pinned messages in the Senate chat, you'll see the Google Drive, just put it on your headshots. A couple people have done it, but some of you have not, so please just take a couple minutes to do that. And as always, if you know of any events or anything that you think that student government should be promoting and should have people's eyes on, please let me know so that way we can do that. And we're
Director of Technology.
Hello everyone, we have a new page on the website for all of our past resolution. We will post all the resolution on there from now on. Thank you.
Does anyone have the University of Maine Security Representative report? Senator Spark. No report, the last meeting got canceled, end of report. The Center for Undergraduate Research Liaison.
Our next meeting is coming up in like 2 weeks, so as of now, nothing.
Does anyone have any questions for the speaker?
For Senator Chapin, do you know who is the presenter for the reading that you've been on? Yes.
I don't remember. I believe it was someone from the provost's office.
Any more questions? Senator Cowan.
For Senator Elliott, not affiliated question. I appreciate the shout out, but my last name is Cowan, not Cullen. Sorry, they're all.
Any more questions or comments? To go back off of our DOC, if you don't get your photo tonight, or if you don't upload it by the end of the week, you don't get a Senate poster. So I would like, and I expect you all to have your photos done. Thank you. Now reports for standing committees. Starting with policy and procedure.
Okay, so I actually have a report tonight. Polypro has moved its time to 2 p.m. on Fridays due to a couple of time overlaps for a lot of the members. I have a couple projects going on right now. I am working on a new governing document with President Tripp, so we will see that in a couple weeks. If you are a committee chair, I have printed out your committee founding documents and put them in your binder. Those of you who have multiple, like the Holistic Health Committee, which is the original one, the renewal from last year, and then the Holistic Health one, those are all in your binder, and I put them in chronological order with the most recent on top. I am also working on standardizing how we write our resolutions, so our administrative assistant isn't in a constant guessing game to figure out what past resolutions mean. This is a guideline, not a policy, so it will not go through Senate, but I will share it with my committee. So if they're interested in that, please come to Polypro at some point. I will share a meeting before when that will happen. And finally, I'm creating my committee binder to do a how-to Polypro booklet alongside my committee notes and important documents for the next Polypro share. Center before time.
Next up is the voter involvement in education committee. However, that is a special committee, so I'm going to hold off until that section. Services.
Hello, everyone. Very short report today. I was sick, like on and off for the past week, so I couldn't get that much done. Primarily, I was just working on trying to get volunteer interests for the night walk that I'm to do early November. Now I had to want to push it back a little bit, just to give more time. I know a couple of attorneys who are looking into wanting to participate in that, try to get some hours in themselves. Not that I'll reach out to more groups, and so we're gonna talk to ASC the report.
Academic affairs.
Yeah, academic affairs had a meeting last week. As a reminder, academic affairs meets at 12 p.m. every Friday. I encourage anyone here to attend that and be involved in academic affairs. In terms of the new business, tomorrow, I, along with President Tripp, will be going to the Senate Academic Affairs Committee and trying to help people with stuff like that.
Are there any questions? President Tripp.
For the services chair, do you have plans to advertise the night walk perhaps on the Instagram?
Yes, I'll be talking with Jason about that, and then hopefully also tabling for it.
Great.
Any more questions? All right, we'll move on to reports of special committees and we'll start with the Voter Involvement and Education Committee.
Hi, everybody. This, as Josh touched on, EPA Bone, we submitted a funding request for $150 for the collaborative event between VEEK and, U-Vote. And that will be this Thursday at 6:30, so you should all be there if you can make it. We'll be explaining question 1 and question 2 for the upcoming November 4th election. And also there'll be a bunch of free pizza and drinks and some other snacks, I think. Depending on how much pizza costs. And besides that, we have been really skimming along with the website. As Alex keeps saying, we are cooking on that. So, I know it's really cringy, but I think that if anybody wants to help with that or wants to look into that anymore, along with the committee, you can come on Wednesdays from 4 to 5 in Plain Center and report.
Holistic Health and Wellness Committee.
This week we started drafting out questions and topics to put on a little survey we're putting together to set up the student body. We're looking to make that available to students for about a week or two, just to get kind of a check-in on how much students know about, specifically mental health services, but a lot of other student-centered services on campus. Maybe gaps in that knowledge and how we can help fill that. And then from there, we've got a lot of ideas about infographics to put on social media and email, as well as maybe some videos and whatnot. And I'll be in touch with Josie and Claire about that. Additionally, I wanted to touch on the March Against Domestic Violence. This was this past Friday at 5 p.m. It went really well. I heard from many an administrator that this was one of the highest attended March Against Domestic Violences in recent years. We had the opportunity to remember 11 victims of domestic violence in the Penobscot and Piscataquis. Piscataquis. Oh, there's so many letters in that. Piscataquis counties over the past 5 years. It was really emotional, it was really impactful, and I think it was really healing for a lot of the student body. And I think it just further shows how us as student leaders need to make the effort to be involved in programs like that. So I really appreciate all of you who came in attendance and report.
Does anyone have the FDA report? Sure. Okay. Undergraduate Student Symposium.
Hi everyone, we had our first meeting yesterday. We talked about how the symposium kind of works and stuff. We pretty much just came up with a bunch of questions for the student panel that happens every year. And will be held at the event. If you'd like to be a part of the committee, message me. Even if you can't make it, just let me know. I'll put you in the chat, we can go with questions and stuff. But if you can make it, our meetings are Mondays from 12 to 1 at the Wade Pavilion, or Wilson, Wells Pavilion, there we go. Airport.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to representative board reports, starting with Interfraternity Council. And for his report is that they are holding a paper meeting this Wednesday for Greek Week. For Panhellenic Council. Hi everyone, sorry I couldn't be here today. I'm currently helping run our Greek Week event at OHA. This week we elected a new VP of Philanthropy for the current executive board and also sent out applications for the 2026 executive board. We are planning on presenting the slate to the council on November 5th. I also held an emergency meeting with the sorority presidents to remind them of the behavior Panhellenic expects during Greek Week and homecoming this week, as well as address a few concerns regarding behavior in the past few weeks. We are working on allowing chapters to handle issues organization to organization instead of going straight to Panhellenic. Student Athletic Advisory Council.
Hi everyone, I'm Lauren. I plan to be the new representative of Student Athlete Advisory Committee and also the co-president of staff. A report, we had a swim meet last weekend, women's ice hockey, also more songs as well as swim team and we lost. And a lot of my stuff is for next week, but we're planning on helping out the president with her Halloween event and the retreat in Orno. And the swim team has their one.
Senior class council,
Hi everyone, so the gala that I have mentioned like week after week, it's coming up soon and we are, before the next Senate meeting, we will be sending out the ticket pre-purchasing form and we get postings all around campus, so just keep your eyes out to that. The event is open to all students, not just the senior class, so please encourage all of your friends to join. So then our countdown to graduation is almost this week. It is at 200 days. So, end report.
sustainability, environmental action division.
We're working on doing a legislative workshop on the 24th. And they're also looking to work with the center, there's co-sponsored on sustainability and economic development. And the work.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to community associate report, starting with Shaq.
Student Heritage Alliance Council had a really successful meeting last Thursday. In attendance was the French Club. They had their last meeting just yesterday where they played Jeux d'Associaté, which are board games. MSA was also there. And last week they went over what's called a halakha. And from Rufeda, this is basically a learning circle in which Muslims gather to learn from each other, and topics can range from the Holy Book to lessons on morality and life in general. They're really encouraged in the Islamic religion, so it was really cool to learn about that. ASA, a couple weeks ago, they had a matcha bar, very successful, a lot of people liked it. The Japanese club was also there, they have a really solid core group of attendants, and they played bingo. And then Farag, we had a really successful meeting before break, but more so of note, last Thursday, we had a really full house. We invited Troy Jackson to come, the governor candidate, and we all learned about Crossland Hall's history from a really knowledgeable grad student named Lincoln Tyner, who was spearheading a movement, which I'll talk about a bit later on. But it was a great time, we had great food, community members came, and we all learned a lot, so it was very fun. Going into more shack stuff, we're planning this year to scale back on the quantity of restaurants, about 5, just so that the food can go a bit longer. And right now, we're in the planning phase for food for the Friends of Family Feast. I've reached out to many restaurants, getting numbers, quantities, so that's going to be solid by the end of next week. And this week, we're going to be meeting on Thursday from 5 to 5:30, or to 5:50. But to change things up, we're actually going to be meeting in Crossland Hall in order to promote culture together in such a historic building. And it's open to anybody, so I highly recommend it if you're interested in learning about some of the cultural clubs on campus, learning a thing or two, also seeing about how some of the student leaders are really effective, like in gathering such big numbers. It's a really great opportunity. At the last meeting, some of the representatives expressed concerns about the removal of the blue buttons on campus as they're one of the only preventative measures keeping people safe from violence and assaults. And they feel that the implementation of a fleet of surveillance cameras won't be a very good replacement and will only serve to set a precedent of a surveillance state, one of our members said. So I was very appreciative of them for sharing that concern. And that will do it for the chat report. Thank you.
Wild time.
We are beginning to plan into November, and we have a good handful of events that will be coming up, but today I specifically wanted to talk about Transgender Day of Remembrance. For those who might not know, Transgender Day of Remembrance is a day where we honor the lives lost to violence targeted transgender individuals internationally over the past year. In honor of this, Wildstein hosts a yearly candlelight vigil on November 20th. We don't have anything for that yet, but I should have that by next week. This event is not only for transgender people. Transgender violence affects us all, and no acts of violence against anyone are acceptable. The data shows that violence and hate against trans people is on the rise. comparing the number of violent deaths reported by GLAD last year to the current but not final total for this year, the number has almost doubled. And this is just the number of reported incidents. The actual number is actually likely much higher. That being said, we are looking for speakers for this event. I think it's important this year to have a diverse group of trans and non-trans speakers to show just how important of an issue this is. So I'd like to invite anyone here who might be interested in speaking to let me know if you would like to. On a more positive note, Wildstein is tabling tomorrow and Thursday from 11 to 4. We're doing this to raise money to get some new decorations for our gay Thanksgiving event. We're selling small boo baskets and we're raffling off a larger one that is $50 value. And it's full of lots of great stuff like a cozy blanket and lots of candy and a very cute stuffed animal monster and $15 Starbucks gift card. And a report.
Does anyone have the ISA report? All right, do we have any questions for our speakers? Seeing none, we will enter our 5-minute recess and return at 7. Has everyone finding their seats? I'm looking for approval for the consent agenda. Senator Vaughn. Hearing a second, if it's the pleasure of the Senate, that is adopted. See nothing. See nothing under unfinished business, we'll start with new business 46S EBC men's ice hockey tier funding with the remainder of $2,313.09.
Thank you. Those of you who don't know me, my name is Aaron Conley and I am the president of the UMaine club hockey team. All right. So a little bit about our club. We have 30 current members, 1 coach, along with some active alumni. We practice twice a week and actively engage in team bonding and community service. In terms of scheduling, we have 10 home games, 10 away games. Our current budget accounts for a total of $44,035.50. So we're just looking for some support to help cover the costs of our most expensive road trip this year. The money would go towards van rentals and lodging expenses for that trip. Some details about it: we're going down to Massachusetts, playing 3 teams: Stonehill, Quincy College, and Babson, and we will be there for 2 nights, 3 days, 3 games.
Are there any questions for the speaker? Senator Ricker.
I'm just curious, it's like back to back to back, right? For the both semesters and stuff.
So since we're pretty far away from most teams, most of our games consist of weekends of back-to-back games. So yeah, that weekend we will play in 3 days, 3 games, and then make a trek back out to campus.
Any more questions? EP Ball.
Just for reference for our senators, how much are the dues for your club?
Dues for every individual, every 30 members of our club are $1,400. Yeah.
Any more questions? Seeing none, what is the committee's recommendation?
4, 5, 0 on pass.
Hearing more.
Move to accept the committee's recommendation.
Hearing a second, we'll now enter discussion. Seeing none, debate. Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passes. We'll now be going into the Crosland Hall update from Alex Emery.
To the honorable student legislators of the University of Maine, before I start with my spiel, I just want to thank you all for providing Shaq a space at the University of Maine. It's only for you guys that all the individual student cultural clubs can have a seat here, can be able to partake in, and can have regular updates as to what happens at the student center. It's very important. And so I want to thank you as the president of Shaq, and as a successor to John Guzman, Force of Nature. It was a big boost to fill the semester. And I've come to find that it's even bigger than I could have thought. So I'm going to go into admittedly a kind of lengthy history of Crossland Hall, so I need you guys to bear with me on this one. After the theft of the homeland of the Penobscot Nation by John Marsh in 1783, Antoine Lachance, a French-Canadian Revolutionary War veteran, was recognized as occupying this part of the Penobscot Nation homeland for upwards of 40 years. He's known as the first Franco-American to clear the land of the later Longfellow Farm, which would eventually become the foundation for the University of Maine. And in 1833, Longfellow built a mansion and later sold it to future Civil War Colonel and lumber Baron John Goddard. In 1852, John Goddard sold it to its last private owner, Nathan Frost, a well-respected citizen of Orono. The towns of Orono and Old Town later bought the Frost farm, and the neighboring farm then sold it to the Maine State College Board of Trustees in March of 1866 to serve as the new land base for what would then become the University of Maine. When the college was first preparing to open in 1868, the Frost House, as it was known, became the home to Dr. Merritt C. Fernley, Mrs. Mary Fernley, and the young daughter Harry. These individuals were the first faculty hired, with Merritt Fernley as the first acting president, and his wife Merritt as the first female professor of French and German. Their daughter Harriet would later graduate from college and become one of the first librarians of the university. The Frost House has served UMaine in many crucial ways throughout its long history. It was a chapter house for many fraternities, including the first house of Beta Theta Pi, the oldest surviving fraternity at the University of Maine. It later housed the Department of Home Economics, which contributed to the establishment of the state school lunch program. Following the end of World War II, the building was transformed into an infirmary to nurse the influx of wounded war veterans returning home to pursue a college education in Maine. After 2 decades of serving in this capacity, the building became the General Alumni Association in 1968 and was renamed to North Hall because it's located on the northerlymost end of campus. It was dedicated to former acting president and University of Maine graduate Dr. Charles E. Crossland, class of 1917. In 1981, it was dedicated to him. In 2007, the University of Maine designated Crossland Hall as a Tier 1 historic building, recognizing its historical importance to the university's heritage period. And its ardent genealogists. A plethora of archival resources comprising 3 libraries is available to students and community members for independent research as well. Community outreach is another critical role fulfilled by the Franco-American Center. They host an after-school program that teaches French to students in kindergarten to 5th grade, led by University of Maine students majoring in education. This gives them hands-on experience teaching children while also contributing to language and cultural revitalization. The Franco Farms, a group of Franco-American ladies, meet at Crossland Hall weekly. They're force of nature in the local community as they make blankets to donate to the Bangor Homeless Shelter, create wreaths for the Maine Veterans Home in Bangor. They put together Christmas candy pouches and Christmas trees for the local nursing home. They gather donations for the Orono Food Cupboard and the Orono Thrift Shop. They facilitate the annual Franco-American Resource Opportunity Group Toy Drive and Food Drive for the Old Town Middle School. And they lead self-enrichment classes for students and community members alike. The Franco Farms also host cultural immersion sessions taught through sharing meals and visiting presenters who discuss their experiences in various international locations. The Franco Farms have also traveled to Acadian National Park, Kings Landing in New Brunswick, the Conte Blanche Museum in St. David, the Acadian Village in Van Buren, the Acadian Archives in Fort Kent, and Musée Culturel du Mont Carmel in Lille. The center hosts traveling art collections and has displayed the works of Jake Mission, Sarah Lindley, and Norman Mark. A permanent exhibit of Peter Archambault's work is also available for students and community members to visit. A museum on Franco-American culture has been curated by the director of the Franco-American Center, Lisa Desjardins Michaud, and remains on display for visitors to learn about the many contributions of Franco-Americans to our own Maine history. The center has been at Crossland Hall for over 2 decades, and its survival is intimately linked to the preservation of the building. Plans to expand the Harold Alphonse Sports Arena include leveling Crossland Hall in favor of building a larger capacity parking lot. The Franco-American Center was only informed of this decision via email at the tail end of the spring 2025 semester. By December 20th, the center will be forced to move into a decommissioned building, Libby Hall, and remain there for 1.5 years. They will then be moved into their permanent home in the Environmental Sciences Laboratory. The university claims that they will be given $50,000 for the first move and $500,000 for the needed renovations for the ESL building. Worryingly, the university has a long-standing history of undercutting promised funding for the Franco-American Center, and that which they seem to offer is entirely insufficient to cover the renovations to the outdated laboratory that will become its new permanent home in 2027. The university claims that Crossland Hall has $10 million in deferred maintenance, yet has not provided documentation detailing this high cost. The figure seems beyond exaggerated and is likely an attempt to justify its demolition. An itemized list of these costs will reveal this to be the case. In reality, it will cost far beyond the offered $500,000 to renovate the Environmental Science Lab to not only suit the Franco-American Center's needs, but to reach the bare minimum of federal and state requirements for accessibility and safety. These renovations will be far more expensive than any maintenance that could be done to Crossland Hall. The university administration identifies accessibility as an issue with Crossland Hall. However, the 2 buildings they plan to move the Franco-American Center into are far less accessible than current Crossland Hall. The center is located on the first floor where 2 bathrooms are available. There's also a ramp for access into the building for those who have difficulty using the stairs. Admittedly, automating the main entrance door, lowering the lip of the entryway, and adding another accessible first floor bathroom are endeavors that all of us students support to improve accessibility for everyone who works in, studies in, and visits the Franco-American Center at Crossland Hall. This would also be far less expensive than attempting to resolve deeper structural issues with Libby Hall or the Environmental Sciences Lab. Libby Hall was recently put on the decommissioned building list by the university administration this past April. Downstairs bathrooms are not accessible and only have 1 to 2 stalls for each gender, and are shared with the many programs of the building. The upstairs bathroom is also inaccessible and is only reachable by stairs. They would also have to install an elevator to make this accessible, which does not seem very feasible with $500,000 budget. Most importantly to the Franco-American Center, internal degrees reach levels that would make archival research and preservation of their delicate documents not even possible without extensive and expensive renovations. This facility is not accessible and is entirely insufficient to fulfill the needs of the Franco-American Center. The Environmental Science Lab lacks any first floor bathrooms or accessible entrances, and furthermore, the tap water is entirely unpotable. Regardless of its conditions, it's important to note that this building serves a critical purpose to the state of Maine as it houses the Spruce Budworm Research Laboratory. This lab conducts vital research on combating the spruce budworm, which devastates North American forests. This lab is the only facility of its kind in the nation, and there's no other place at present that it can be relocated to on campus due to its unique needs. They have 3 lab vents and on-demand 155-degree Fahrenheit water. Crossland Hall construction would require that the Environmental Science Lab move immediately to a new location. And the funds spent on renovating the Environmental Science Lab for its specific purposes, some of which are still ongoing, will effectively have been completely wasted. The UMaine administration claims that its plan would result in a central location for the Franco-American Center. However, Libby Hall and the Environmental Science Lab are far from being central to campus and are instead located among the southernmost academic buildings on university grounds. The difficulty in accessing these facilities, both for students and community members alike, will prevent the Franco-American Center from providing its key services of community outreach and national historic preservation, and will inevitably lead to its collapse. The current location of Crossland Hall provides easy access for older community members who play an important role in the center's happenings and cultural education of students. Interestingly to note is that Crossland Hall has actually been moved before in 1904. After Beta's first lease ended with Crossland Hall, they were allowed to build the building which now serves as Beta's frat house. And so Crossland Hall was moved from its original position back in 1904 via logs and oxen. So we don't completely buy into the argument that it's less costly to destroy this building than to just move it as in 1904 and can do so with oxen. The Franco-American Center is a home for students and community members alike. It represents the cultural heritage of at least 40% of Mainers. Yet one does not have to be Franco-American to appreciate it. I'm certainly not. The center will be unable to fulfill its role if its home, Crossland Hall, is destroyed. Furthermore, this building and Maine heritage are intrinsically linked, and so its destruction will not only be a devastating blow to Franco-American culture, but will show plainly that the university, despite extensive pandering, is wholly indifferent to the cultures and peoples of the state of Maine that it finds itself within. In order for the Franco-American Center to continue contributing to the community, state, and nation, and to respect those whose sacrifices have allowed us to grow and love the University of Maine, Crossland Hall must remain. We as concerned students and community members are asking you, as our local representatives here at the University of Maine, to protect Maine culture, history, and heritage by working with us to prevent Crossland Hall's destruction. We firmly believe that through communication and goodwill, a better solution for parking can be found, one that does not sacrifice this historic building and erase Maine's past. This was a report that myself and Lincoln Tyler, the graduate student spearheading this movement, wrote up for legislators across the state. It's been sent to Troy Jackson, will be sent to Senator Collins, Governor Mills, and a plethora of other local representatives. Tomorrow, I have an interview with the main campus so that we can raise awareness of this to the undergraduate and graduate student bodies on campus. And within the coming weeks, we're going to be having multiple interviews with local news stations so that the broader state of Maine can come to learn the history of Crossland Hall, learn the history of it, and work with us to prevent its destruction. As the representative of the Student Heritage Alliance Council, it's absolutely vital that I bring up this issue and continue to bring it up, as Crossland Hall is a unique institution on campus, representing both student culture, but also Maine culture. This is our culture, and it's something that is worth fighting for. So if you have any questions for me, I'm glad to take them. I do also have another write-up that also has on it a QR code that can be taken, that will take you to a petition that has 200 signatures so far, but is gaining traction. So, do we have any questions? And any extras can just be pulled over to this end or over there if it works better.
So this is really less of a question and more of just emphasizing what Representative Emery has been just laid out for us, because I was also at the meeting. We were given the same presentation by the grad student he mentioned. And, you know, obviously there's a lot of historical significance to the building. But really, a main focus is the people that are there now and how this is gonna affect them. And if you think about how upset we all were, and rightfully so, about the whole good neighbor committee affair and how that was all put into place over the summer when there was no opportunity for student input. This is essentially what happened to Crofton Hall. The university decided unilaterally to demolish it without consulting the people that worked there day in, day out. And it didn't even send them their own civic notification. They just like sent out a email to the entire campus saying be demolished, and that's how they found out. And basically, they're relying on the fact that people will just roll over and let this happen. So what we need to do as the student body is to resist it enough to show them, because they have over and over tried to like basically discontinue the Franco-American program. And in the past, similar movements from the student body have prevented them from doing that. So it's not an unprecedented thing, basically.
Thank you for having that service here.
Any more questions? Our student representative?
I worked as a research worker in the lab that is mentioned in the hall that would be the new home of the Franco-American Center. Our building is in no way fit or in shape for this to be some place where there's people with disabilities, nor is this a place that is fitting for people that need it for health uses. They stated our water is 155 degrees because we need this for our. That is not something that we can find in a different building easily, as well as we have 4 fuel hoods as well as many chemicals that are being stored in the building that would not make this a reasonable or feasible place for an outside lab people and as well as it'd be very difficult for us to conduct very important research elsewhere as it is very important to establish this much of conditioning for our work, and it's hard because first weather is an impacted thing. But it does not happen in Atlanta. As stated, we are one of the only ones in the entire United States and in the entire world that does our research. It's something that impacts a great majority of the United States as well as the great majority of Canada and the Midwest.
Thank you for having me.
Senator Collmore?
I just want to say thank you for such a detailed report to all of us, but I was wondering, you mentioned earlier that there's a kind of a history of them undercutting the Franco-American Center, and I was wondering if you had any examples of those, just for more context.
Yeah, Lincoln Tyner and I met with the founder of the Franco-American Center, Yvonne LeBay, who was part of the original Franco-American group. And as for specifics of it, I don't have any specific numbers, but I can redirect you to a Lincoln who is far more knowledgeable about the historic side of things. Definitely do that. Thank you for the comment.
Senator Cowan?
There's one more added part to this issue that I think Senator C. Pierce would touch on is there is a history of this university's administration, and I'm sure within like the last semester or two, we can all remember, if you were here, we can all remember what happened after the Office for Diversity and Inclusion had its name changed to the Office for Community Connection, and students were not informed until that decision had already been made. There is a history of the administration on this campus not informing the student body or other aspects of campus about what is happening until it was too late to do anything about it. If you are passionate about stopping that pattern of behavior and opening up the ways of communication, you should be passionate about this issue as well.
Thank you.
Any more? President Trent?
I guess I have a few questions. Again, thank you so much for your presentation today. I guess I find it kind of shocking that they would be removing the lab. Is there a new location for that lab? They have no communication around that. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then for the fact that you said they weren't even informed, they were informed by a general email with the rest of the campus. Okay.
And I can actually add to that. Once you're finished, that is.
Sure. Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was actually studying abroad this past spring semester, and I didn't find out about Crossland Hall being destroyed until midsummer, around July, when one of the chief genealogists actually Snapchatted our old Montreal trip group chat, urging us to write into the university, letting them know that we do not support this decision, and so I did so, and I upon getting back to campus, talking to this genealogist, she actually shared with us that she was verbally threatened to be removed from campus and banned because she was putting up such a fuss with it. So this cause has no relation to the staff over at the Franco-American Center. This is a completely student-led effort. Because those individuals at the Franco-American Center have their hands tied. Back later.
Okay, I'm gonna continue. What would, have we done any, the building is
1833.
Old building, there, a lot of money that would need to go into that to revitalize it. It seems like a lot of buildings on this campus are reaching their natural due date to be replaced, destroyed, moved, changed. What would, if any, do we know what I'm not trying to middle ground this, I'm trying to look at all of the options here, but do we know, have we done any research or on that side of the people who are involved in this, how much money it would actually look like to outfit? We're gonna skip the lab for a second, because that seems like an insurmountable problem, to be honest, but we'll, like, I mean, in terms of just perfect world, we're just talking about the Franco-American Center right now, because that seems like a much larger problem we'll get to. But, what amount of money would that look like?
Yeah, we haven't actually been able to make like an actual itemized list of how to get Crossland Hall back up to the university standards. They haven't provided us like an itemized list of where they're getting this $10 million from. Talking to multiple maintenance people, they also think that it's highly overshot. So we believe this number to be from some formula, potentially like going over years of deferred maintenance and compounding that. I'm not entirely too sure, but the $10 million, it doesn't seem, doesn't seem hard.
I guess my question for, sorry, you're doing something.
Yes. For how it was determined to be where the state it is now, there was a survey that went out last summer to the Presidential Space Committee, where we were given it was a summary from a third-party surveyor group regarding the buildings on campus, and I do believe this was on there, and so I can look more to specifically the criteria of that third-party surveying group.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Definitely having, a good background for where this number came from, because that's really the crux of it, is that the university believes that this building it would take much more work to be usable than to renovate it. So that would give us a bit of solace, I think, and would ease some minds, but we also believe that, just flat out moving it, and this is where the Orno and Old liaison comes in with code enforcement, is that with every strip of green grass removed, they have to replace that somewhere else. And so the question is, where are they going to put that green grass? On our side of things, we haven't been told where that's going to be, and so it makes us think that this plan might be a bit rushed. And but if we were to put down more green grass somewhere else, why not move Crossland Hall, which was moved via Oxen 120 years ago, over there now, and use it as a museum potentially for the state of Maine. That's just an idea. So.
If you've reached out or made any attempt to contact Maine Historic Preservation Committee, I know that they probably would have been involved in this.
Yeah, I know that Lincoln Tanner reached out to the National Historic Registrar, and they said that they weren't able to add it on their end due to renovations, improvements. They just had a flood back in 2023, which actually took out a lot of their documents. So they had to replace the floors, they had to replace the windows, carpets, all of this, and so it doesn't seem entirely right to us, but I'm not sure if we looked into what was
MHPC, the Maine Historic Preservation Committee.
The Maine Historic Preservation Committee.
There's also a few other firms around Bangor, especially that tend to work. There's one that's called Artifacts. They've worked around Bangor for Bangor's movement of historical districts in the past few years.
Gosh, we'll definitely reach out to them and see if we can make something work. But really, in me coming to here, it's more so just to raise awareness of it. A lot of people don't know what Crossland Hall is, and so in us, you know, spreading the word, and also the Student Heritage Alliance itself taking the initiative to find itself in there. Yeah, Lori.
You finish,
I'm kind of free ball, you can go.
I just wanted to put out there, I was just trying to find it and I can't find it. Probably 10 years ago or so, I was on a campus planning committee, and the whole reason for that committee was for us to identify buildings on campus that cost more to run than they do to keep. And I'm positive that Crossland, I was trying to find the proof of that. Crossland, Hannibal Hamlin, and a number of other buildings that are on this campus that are very historic. Were on that list more than 10 years ago. So I know that there's very much this parking crunch, and that's what's kind of driving the situation right now. But I do know that building has been on that list for a long, long time. I don't know why they chose not to take it down 10 years ago when we were discussing it in a different meeting for different purposes, or if this is just about parking or not. But I just wanted to kind of put that out there. Like Hannibal Hamlin, for example, is another one of those buildings that is just in horrible, horrible condition, but it was part of the Underground Railroad. Many, many moons ago, and that's what it was part of. I mean, there's historic, you know, information that's available on a lot of our buildings on this campus, and it's really great, neat information. But I just kind of wanted to put it out there that although it seems like this is very new, I know that we were talking about this a while ago. And that doesn't mean that it's not worth saving by any means. I just kind of wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up. Really appreciate it. And really talking with Yvonne LeBay, the founder of the Franco-American Senate, he made it very clear that in the past, the university has made moves to undercut the Franco-American Senate so that it specifically has a hard time continuing the thus fall through.
Just for the sake of time, I know that this is a very important conversation that we will be continuing to have, but I will take 3 more questions. President Tripp.
Went more of a privilege, but just kind of writing down action items here. What would you like to see from student government? You're obviously a student government member, so you're addressing us as a SHAC president, but also you are a representative of SHAC. What do you want to see from student government? What can I help you do? I think that there's a lot going on this campus right now. There are capital projects much bigger than 10, 20, 30 years of students. I think that I align very closely with Senator Cowan's point about a consistent inability to pre-inform or involve students. I would just obviously these are across different things. The ODI OCC one was from student life. I do think that we've made progress there, but this is pointing out that there's a lot more parts, and I think that that's part of the reason that we're working in the annual call and getting more involved with infrastructure. So what I can do from my post is I can help us get the information we need to get. So if that is something that you want to organize or get together, that's great. I can also attend a SHAC meeting if that's what you'd like. But anything that you can get to me that I can kind of have a checklist to work off of will be the best thing, because again, I'm not the one that's going to be knowledgeable on this, and my job is to get you in the room, not necessarily speak for you, and I don't want to speak for you on this one in terms of I don't want to get anything wrong. So I want to make sure that when we set up meetings, they're joint meetings. I think that it only makes sense that if the justification is the cost, that they are open with the cost. So that is something that I will kind of continue on my end to fight for, probably in one of our first meetings with BPFA Boyden and Joshua Bone, BPFA Bone. I'll bring it up and talk about how that needs to be more direct, and maybe that is the relationship that we're missing. I'd also like to get into a conversation about the lab, because that seems to be a separate kind of, it's not necessarily that this is overshadowing that, but 2 problems, 2 crises at once. I'd be interested in any information that you could get me about that, especially in terms of the lack of information about where that lab is going to go. I find that every day I find things more unbelievable. So just know that we're a resource. We're not gonna be able to figure out tonight, but let's kind of move this into committee work and see where we can go.
Okay, 2 more points. Senator St. Pierre.
Okay, I'll try to make this quick. Regarding the question about their plans for the lab, it seems like they don't have a plan to move the lab. And the more pessimistic perspectives that we heard in light of the university's history on this topic, is that they really are just trying to get them out across the hall into this temporary decommissioned building. And when the time comes when they're actually supposed to move them into the new one, they're gonna be like, oh wait, we actually can't move the lab. You have to stay where you are, or we're just gonna discontinue the program because that building is in even worse shape than across the hall. From the report that we were given, so.
And I'll also quickly add that there are negotiations going on with the environmental science lab. They're very linked with the lumber industry. And Lincoln Tyner had an interview with one of the staff over there. And we had to actually revise our report because some of this stuff can't come out yet. Nothing in here, but negotiations are actively being underdone, so it could change in a week. But they decided to destroy Crossland and they hadn't even started negotiations at that point, so it's perfect, but we can continue on. Thank you all for listening to all this. It's been a while, but it's an important.
Now we move on to 46 SQL 118, updating the Senate election guidelines. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is a resolution to amend the Fair Elections Practices Guidelines. This is just amending two sections, the section 4, the timetable of the election, and then section. I think it's section 5, campaigning. I think you might also have a copy of these guidelines in your binders. Never mind. But the old, they're also, this is in your email. So the old guidelines or the current guidelines are at the top, there's the second whereas, just explaining the timetable of the election as it reads right now in the guidelines.
If you scroll down though, I believe Chair Sparks has made it so it's strike through, so you can see the old,
Right there.
yeah. You can see what was added and what was removed.
So right here, the bolded parts that aren't strike through are gonna be the new language. And this kind of takes away some specific dates and times that the Senate elections are supposed to occur in. So the old language says 4 weeks prior to the election, and we're just gonna change that so that it's
Are we looking at what you're looking at?
Yes.
yeah. If you scroll up just a tiny bit, like a half a page. There you go, yeah.
Yeah, so just basic big things that we cut out are like, it used to say that papers were released and then due within 7 days. That's not a lot of time. It also said that I had to take out 2 quarter-page ads in the main campus to advertise this. I'm just gonna do an Instagram post and an email blast, maybe 2 email blasts. I feel like that's satisfactory than buying main campus advertisements, but if you disagree, that's what Senate debate is for.
And then in section 4, B, it says that nomination papers shall be made available at least 3 weeks prior to the beginning of campaigning. Looking at the schedule and the timetable that we crafted, that will hopefully be doing later tonight. It should be amended by a senator during debate to 2 weeks. So that's 2 weeks for campaigning, getting your 25 signatures. And then
paperwork, with your like, nomination packet will be due 2 Fridays before the election day, so that's extra time for campaigning. And then if you scroll down another half page. There's just some more, what VP Fang mentioned, we cut a couple of things about putting advertisements in the main campus. There's just some really outdated language in the guidelines that haven't been thoroughly updated in a while. And so, we're just kind of updating that so that we found that advisor to Delco and PPSL sending emails is really efficient. And so we're gonna stick with that. And then if we move to section 5, which we are on. A, we're changing it so that campaigning occurs when nomination papers are due. And then this is just putting it kind of in concurrence with executive elections as well. They're just a little bit different, and so it's kind of just meshing everything so that everything's on a similar wavelength. We added that campaign material must be promoting a candidate or candidates. It can't be vulgar or demean another member of the Humane community. So you know, just bash other candidates. Okay. And that is all for the section.
Just to reiterate the DOT, if verified, if you could just scroll up to the top of section 4 again. If a senator could amend that to be to, where is the line?
For section B, section 4B. No,
So it says 3 weeks, and if a senator could amend that to 2 weeks again, that's just because I messed up on counting. And I would much rather amend this than push the guidelines, amend the guidelines to push that back by a week, because I don't think you need 3 weeks to get your signatures. And also because if I'm, correct me if I'm wrong, that 2 weeks is in line with the executive elections.
Okay, great. Is there any questions? Seeing none, what is the committee's recommendation?
600 ought to pass as amended.
Senator DeLorme.
I move to accept the committee's recommendation.
Second.
Hearing a second, we'll now enter discussion. Seeing none, debate. Senator DeLorme.
I'd like to motion to amend section B to say nomination papers shall be made available at least 2 weeks prior to the beginning of campaign.
Hearing a second, that will now enter discussion. Debate. All those in favor of the amendment? All those opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passes. Now back to debate for the motion. Any more? President Trent.
This is a lot of good work. That's been a long time coming. A lot of the, was kind of said, it was written in a time where information space on this campus was very different. I think that the changes about not requiring main campus advertising and changing it to our own advertising makes sense, especially when you consider the main campus will likely also cover the Senate elections anyway. And yes, this document has kind of been our problem document for a long time, and we went through and did executive elections last year. Now we're doing Senate elections for the first time in I think literally a decade or more. So good work, the two of you. And once this is all solidified, I think this will be my final document. I go all the way through and pass at the end of the year. So we'll also clean it up eventually too.
Great. Any more points for debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passes as amended. Yeah, I was looking at this. Next is 46 SQL 119. 2025 Senate election timeline.
If the DOT would pull up the actual timeline,
Yeah.
the resolution just says approve the timeline, so you. But this is what matters. While you guys look at that, I'm gonna go over election really fast, just for anyone new or anyone who needs a refresher. Because UMSG runs on a calendar year system,
you all have to get your signatures again because we are in a new session. If more people for your college, let's say education and human development, 2 seats, if 3 people turn in papers, then we go to an election where 2 people can win that. Same process for any college, et cetera. And just because I think that it makes no sense not to do it this way, if a college fills up but at-large seats are available, I'm just gonna encourage them to go for at-large instead of forcing an election for no reason, because if they lose that election, they can still come back and at-large senator anyway. For anyone who doesn't remember how to get your papers in, 25 signatures if you're going for a college-specific seat, 50 signatures if you're going for at-large, and of those 50, 3 from each college. If you have, and there's a thing about, what are we, about the schedule? Never mind. If you have any questions about that, feel free to shoot me or SVPC Chair Stankovitz a email or just a message on Google Chat. And if you are able to be in multiple colleges, or if you're at large and want to know if you should switch into college to make things easier, shoot me a text and I can tell you what I think is my recommendation for what you do. But again, this is your signatures, you are representing your college and your constituency. It's completely your right whether you choose to switch colleges or go for whatever college you want.
Senator Ricker.
As it stands right now, what seats are at risk of election?
Yes, thank you, Senator Ricker. I was about to read that out loud. Education and human development is full right now, 2 out of 2. Maine Business School, 2 out of 4. MCEC, 5 out of 6. ELHS, 3 out of 7. CLAS, 4 out of 6, and at large, 8 out of 10.
President Trump.
To give some perspective, since obviously those seem to be kind of okay numbers. And they're not on the timeline, what kind of advertising about Senate seats themselves do you plan on doing?
I think we would probably include that in the post to the Instagram. Ideally, the post to the Instagram won't be like a black post like reporter, it would be the video or both. At the executive elections, we usually do both, and so ideally we would do a video describing the process and what's available and how to answer your questions, who to contact to answer your question. Would be in, the emails in the Instagram post.
There's also gonna be a lot more information. I'm asking you all to, I brought also the package for you all to pick up today because BJ printed a bunch for me for the org fair and I don't wanna waste paper, and I'm trusting that all of you guys as returning senators know or understand the practice, or at least who to contact if you need help. But I'm designing a new packet and working with a template President Tripp created for the executive elections that will be a lot clearer on seats and signature process, and include a page of the FPPC guidelines that are focused on Senate elections.
Also, the list that VP Fang just read off about how many seats are open is on the UMSG website that is rapid updates. So it is available if people know where to find it, but so you guys can look whenever you want. And then I have one more thing to say. VP Fang and I were talking a little bit earlier about how some people might not know their spring semester schedules yet by the time that nomination papers are due. And that is fine, we'll handle that. You can always, God forbid, drop out of the election, after the due date. And that might or might not change the trajectory of the election, but it's not like you're locked in and forced to do it, even if, your one class is scheduled for the time of Senate.
Are there any questions? Senator Ricker.
Just to clarify, as it stands right now, it's looking relatively. Assuming like knowledge people are going next. Yes.
The only full college is education and human development.
President Tripp.
To add to that, without any message to the student body, without any push from the SLR tabling, like there has been, students currently right now do not know that this is happening. So I don't think that's very indicative of what we'll see, but maybe everybody who's interested on campus is already here. Then, well.
From the. Nothing I ever say in this room is off the record, but from the conversations that I've had with either existing senators about switching or prospective senators, like the one we have right there, and any that have maybe taken the semester off and are returning, I would not be shocked if at least one college goes to election. Right now, I think CLAS might. Education will not, as long as the people who have reached out to me are staying with how they have, but if someone that I don't know about is an education major, decides to come along, then 100% they will go to election. And I, at large, will if the shuffling gets weird, so a week ago, I said to Keegan that we're gonna do this, so we have it, but I don't think we're gonna election. I feel less confident about that statement now. Just fine.
Any more questions? Senator Elliott.
So the term for these elections will be forward, start in the spring, or do they start?
In the spring, and then if you are not graduating, that continues into next fall because we run on a calendar year system.
President Trick.
Bit of information on that, when I was vice president, made that decision, it actually is precedent that the sessions are on calendar year and not academic year, as to make a kind of split between when new executives will be coming in and senators will be remaining or coming in, so that those are staggered.
Any more questions? Seeing none, what is the committee's recommendation?
That was just
That was
context.
discussion, we haven't gotten to the
Sorry,
actual resolution.
I apologize to the chair.
So the resolution is not this. The resolution literally just says that I have to bring a timeline for the Senate elections and that Senate has to pass the timeline. So this is.
Yes.
This is the resolution. It's no information.
Whereas the proposed timeline is attached, resolve the proposed timeline is.
So if we go back to the one you were just on, yeah, so this is the timeline that ideally we would be passing tonight. You can read through it and compare it to your Google Calendar or whatever you want to do. But it just states that nomination forms would start being available on Thursday.
That is just to give me tomorrow to coordinate with Zoe and DOC Leclerc on and Lori on pushing it out, that when they are officially available on Thursday, we have all the advertisements and stuff going out too. But I mean, they have been available. Like I said, you guys just all took packets today, and anyone could have taken packets for the spring semester at any point.
And then those would be due what you just picked up today, and anyone else who wanders into the office in the next few weeks, they would be due on the 7th of November. And I have it due at 2 p.m. Just so that we have time to kind of go through everything, and so that BJ isn't logged down at 5 p.m. or whenever he leaves for the day. Everything, yeah.
Is and maybe this doesn't need to be part of the timeline, but did we send out, we haven't in the past, I don't think, sent out a mass notice for nominations?
We
send out a notice for voting.
Yeah.
Why don't we send out?
Well,
We would like.
We're going to contact you and get that done. In the past, they've been sent out in the SL newsletter. But I do want to start sending them out on a broader, because I know a lot of people interact with your emails, and so I find that I want to start doing that. And then the campaigning would occur from the 7th to the 18th. That can look like flyers or Instagrams, whatever, buttons, stickers. So I have to meet with all the candidates that in their thing. I put a date for the 12th. Obviously not everyone will be able to meet at that date, so that would be kind of tentative. And then at the meeting, I would figure out the order of the names on the ballot. That just has to be done publicly. That's just kind of like, is it gonna be alphabetical? Is it gonna be blah, blah, blah kind of thing? An expense report is due on the 18th. at 5 p.m. That goes to me, and also it should be involved with Pam. Every senator is allowed to spend $25 on their campaign fees, that may be used for buttons, stickers, flyers, whatever. And then, the election will occur on the 19th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So that will be a, online voting for anyone new. It'll be a form sent to your email. It's not the one that was used for homecoming court. It's a different system. That'll be from 8 to 5. And then there'll be in-person voting in the Wade Center, from 9 to 5. That'll be for anyone who might not be able to access the link for any reason, or just people who prefer to vote in person. And then for any writing candidates, so those are candidates who didn't initially meet the deadline or didn't know about it until later, they have to file a report with me by 5 on that day, to be eligible to win one of the spots. And then the last 3 points on this timeline, are just me going through with my committee and any representatives to unseal the ballots and calculate them, certify them with our attorney, and then post them to both the winners and also publicly. And then I didn't include it on the timeline, but if there needs to be a runoff election, that would occur on Thursday, and then the unsealing of the ballots would be pushed to Friday that week. A runoff election is if there's a tie and we send out the ballot again.
Questions? Seeing none. Senator Elliott?
So, this is sort of take us to Jesse, but it could be for other circumstances. Where I will not be here in the spring, but I will be in the fall. And if the election happened to be competitive, that could be sort of a barrier to being able to still fall. So what would be the recommendation?
So if you're not gonna be here in the spring, I wouldn't fill out a nomination packet, because the people who are seniors this year will be filling out, you know, if they wanna return, they'll be filling out a nomination packet. And then their seat will be vacant in fall. And so the numbers in the fall will look a lot different than they're going to in the spring. It's just that returning from first, second, and third years, their seat will go through. They don't have to fill out another nomination packet over the summer or anything weird like that.
Yeah, I can't guarantee it, but it's very likely that if MCEC goes election is full in the fall, either a seat will open or an at-large seat will open, and you will just do the same thing you did this fall of getting your papers in. I would not suggest running for election if you're not gonna be here in the spring.
After the elections are done, it's back to first come, first serve. So it's similar to the circumstance you were at when you filled out.
Any more questions? Seeing none, what is the committee's recommendation?
600 ought to pass.
Senator Delar?
I move to accept the committee's recommendation.
Hearing a second, we'll now enter discussion. Seeing none, debate. President Trevor.
Point of information, $25 would get you 357 posters.
Black and white color, thank you. With UMaine printing?
With UMaine printing.
Fantastic, thank you.
Any more points for debate? Seeing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? All abstaining? Seeing a clear majority in the affirmative, that passes. Seeing nothing under main motion or executive session, we'll now enter special orders and announcements. Senator Todd.
This weekend is homecoming, so there's so many cool things going on. First and foremost, you got an email yesterday at 8 a.m. That email link will be valid till 5 p.m. on Friday. That is voting for homecoming court. That's really cool. A couple of the people in this room are actually running, and that's like really cool and chill. And I'm not biased. And then additionally, do you know who else will be in the homecoming football game? That will be the pep groups. So come support the cheerleaders, the football team, the marching band, the dance team, and the majorettes as we cheer our team on for victory. Thank you. Oh, and we're going to Wells after this. Forgot about that.
President Tripp.
First of all, I want to congratulate Senator Cowan and Vice President Shelburne for both being chosen for the homecoming court. Out loud. And then a reminder about the president's volunteering. I would really like to be able to give names consistently to this. This is a big deal that they're asking us consistently to provide volunteers. So if you're around homecoming and kind of want to hang out with kind of the administration and also maybe go to the box, that's fun. So let me know.
I didn't know that our DOC was gonna be leaving, so you have till the end of the week to get your photos stamped. I thought that people would be able to get it at the end of the meeting.
Did everybody get them though in the 5 minutes? Raise your hand if you've never gotten your headshot done. All right, that is on you.
Three.
I
All right,
booking link. I provide.
any more announcements? There's alarm. Second.
Oh, no.
No, I am not having that as. Seeing that, will the clerk please call the roll?
Keegan Tripp,
Here.
Cynthia Shelmerdine, here, Joshua Gall,
Here.
Dylan Lehman, Jordan Thompson,
Here.
Nate Bennett.
Here.
Jason Waller.
In the box.
Zoe Singleton, here. Olivia Britton, here. Israel Erica. Kyle Ricker. Ray Vanderwood.
Here.
Ezekiel DeLorme.
Here.
Brian St. Lawrence.
Here.
Joseph Elliott.
Here.
Riley St. Pierre.
Here.
Casper Cowan.
Here.
Briar Creepin.
Here.
Kyle Whitehead.
Here.
Marina Dana. Here. Clayton Warren. Jeremy Collmore. Here. Zachary Zala.
Here.
Ethan Friday.
Here.
People Clark. Here. Alan Bala.
Here.
Marissa Schultz. Here. Kenzie Kirkins. Here. Isabella. Bader Fancook. Here. Alex Emery.
Here.
Jackson Gamble. Here. Lori Sidolfo. Hi. I didn't get.
Us.
There's a couple more.
I might have skipped some, sorry. Did anybody? Okay, Skyvan, here. Isabella Lammergood, here. That's all.
Anybody not get calls?
Did you skip over like the not here before like Jonah?
All right, I'm now looking for a motion to adjourn, Senator Moore. Second, if that's the pleasure of the Senate, that's accepted.